يا نفس إن لم تظفري لا تجزعي. يا نفس إن لم تظفري لا تجزعي، وإلى موائد جود مولاك هرعي. يا نفس إن لم تظفري لا تجزعي، وإلى موائد جود مولاك هرعي. وإذا تأخر مطلب فلربما في ذلك التأخير كل المطمع. فاستانسي بالمنع وارعي حقه، إن الرضا وصف المنيب الألمع. وإذا بدا من ناطق الوجدان ما يدعوك للياس الذميم الأشنع، فاستيقظي من نومة الغفلات وليكن الرجاء لك مرتعا فيه ارتعي. إن العطاء إمداده متنوعون، إن العطاء إمداده متنوعون. يا حسنه ذاك العطاء المتنوع. وردوا على نهر الحياة وكلهم شربوا، وكم في الركب من متضلع. حاشا الكريم يردهم عطشا وقاد وردوا. وأصل الجود من ذا المنبع، أصل الجود من ذا المنبع. يا رب لي ظن جميل وافر، قدمته وامشي به يسعى معي. يا رب يا لي ظن جميل وافر، قدمته أمشي به يسعى معي. كل الذي يرجون فضلك، كل الذي يرجون فضلك أمطروا. حاشاك أن يبقى هشيما مربعي. كل الذي يرجون فضلك أمطروا. حاشاك أن يبقى هشيما مربعي. يا نفس إن لم تظفري لا تجزعي. يا نفس إن لم تظفري لا تجزعي، وإلى موائد جود مولاك هرعي. يا نفس إن لم تظفري لا تجزعي، وإلى موائد جود مولاك هرعي. وإذا تأخر مطلب فلربما في ذلك التأخير كل المطمع. فاستانسي بالمنع وارعي حقه، إن الرضا وصف المنيب الألمع. وإذا بدا من ناطق الوجدان ما يدعوك للياس الذميم الأشنع، فاستيقظي من نومة الغفلات وليكن الرجاء لك مرتعا فيه ارتعي. إن العطاء إمداده متنوع، إن العطاء إمداده متنوع. يا حسنه ذاك العطاء المتنوع. وردوا على نهر الحياة وكلهم شربوا، وكم في الركب من متضلع. حاشا الكريم يردهم عطشا وقاد وردوا. وأصل الجود من ذا المنبع، أصل الجود من ذا المنبع. يا رب لي ظن جميل وافر، قدمته وامشي به يسعى معي. يا رب يا لي ظن جميل وافر، قدمته أمشي به يسعى معي. كل الذي يرجون فضلك، كل الذي يرجون فضلك أمطروا. حاشاك أن يبقى هشيما مربعي. كل الذي يرجون فضلك أمطروا. حاشاك أن يبقى هشيما مربعي.
Three, two, one. And we are live. All right, guys. Welcome back to the live stream. I have a new lighting. I hope this looks a bit better. Not as pale as usual on my live streams. Usually we have so much white lighting that I look like a proper white Westerner. But today, I think we can see a little bit of my Balkan 10. Anyways, hola, salut, bonjour, merhaba. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Welcome to the stream. Good to see you. It has been again roughly 20 days since my last live stream. And that was due to certain health complications. Again, I don't want to go too deep, but my son goes to a school which I would, if I wouldn't know any better, conflate with the Wuhan lab, because every single week he comes with a new mutated virus, and every single week I am dead sick. So now I've been sick again for roughly 2 weeks straight. Thank you very much, son. Appreciate it. Anyways, but now we are more or less fit again, fit to stream. That being said, today we're going to watch some YouTube together. On that note, support the channel via super chats. That is one way to get your questions answered. But moreover, if you want me to react to a specific YouTube video or a Twitter post or whatnot, you can simply send it through via super chat, and then I will react to it live, on air, uncensored, unfiltered, raw. And other than that, I have a few things in my playlist that I want to check out anyways. As I said in my last live stream, which has been pretty much a month ago almost now, I talked about having multiple videos that are not really perfect for classical reaction videos. However, they definitely are good for live stream reactions, because we can simply look into them, play 5 minutes or so, and then if they're boring, we can watch something else. That is the plan. Anyhow, thank you very much for tuning in. I see the chat, there are already discussions. Steve, has Steve been banned? Steve is the Christian evangelical that always finds himself in Muslim chats. I heard it from Grayson as well. Apparently he was discussing with the Muslims over there too. It's quite interesting. I mean, ultimately, how convinced can you be of your position if you really have to go to the opposite side, quote unquote, and repeat your BS over and over again? Yeah. Anyways, we have Dash here, the Right Way is here, Mr. Weather Boss is here, Ilias is here, the Bing Chilling Bird as well, Abdenur. Thank you very much for tuning in, guys. Appreciate it. Yeah, we still have multiple guests lined up, but as I said, I was really sick. My voice is kind of returning now. I wasn't even able to record videos. That's the thing. If you're a YouTuber and your voice gets affected, you can't really do YouTube, right? If you're doing YouTube where you're actually showing yourself. Of course, nowadays we have AI-generated videos and whatnot. But if you do it the old-fashioned way, the way that I do it, then you're out every time you get a cold. Steve C is an atheist. Even better. We love atheists. Atheists can never defend their positions. Absolutely impossible. I have to say that over the past 3 years or so, I believe, I've been in pretty much every Telegram group there is. On that note, check out the links in the description box. I believe my Telegram group is linked there as well. But be that as may, I joined all the Telegram groups just out of sheer interest. So neo-nationalists, liberals, all religious folks, be it Hindus, Christians obviously, Catholics, Orthodox Christians, Muslims, atheists, pagans even. That's my last discovery. I'm discussing with a few pagans. And I have to say, out of all of those groups, the most incoherent ones are, hands down, actually two groups, the atheists and the pagans. They're pretty much the same, to be totally honest, because the pagans, they like to say that they believe in nature. Ultimately, they are modified naturalists of sorts, traditionalists, if you will, living in the past. but they don't believe in one supreme deity. They call all the Abrahamic faiths Jewish, obviously. And yeah, therefore, they're basically just like atheists. So those two positions are absolutely incoherent and indefensible. From what I've seen so far, I haven't seen one good argument, genuinely, for atheism, let alone paganism. Okay. Anyways, we have a super chat. Thank you very much. Let me just adjust this here real quick. Here we go. The chat is back. Now you should be able to see the chat on the screen again. Should appear anytime now. Thank you very much, boss. $5. Appreciate it. Says Salamu alaikum, my brother. Wa alaikum assalam, bro. I have been super busy, but always happy to catch a video from my brother. Yeah, thank you very much for that. Guys, as always, I have to give this, it's not a disclaimer necessarily, but I have to bring you attention towards that I'm still shadow banned. And matter of fact, every single day when I check my comments, I do see people that tell me, hey brother, where have you been? Well, I haven't been anywhere really. I don't upload as much as I used to, but I still upload definitely weekly, 2 to 3 videos and live streams, etc. And people don't get notified. So still do subscribe and hit the notification bell, but it's not a guarantee that you're gonna get notified about my videos or my live streams. So it is a little bit of work on your part. If you really want to be up to date, you will have to actually look for my channel. You have to search Bobby's Perspective and then see what I uploaded. Anyways, thank you very much for the super chat, boss. Appreciate it. Applause. 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 I see the question here, if I'm a Quranist. No, I'm not a Quranist. I find the position indefensible as well. Not incomprehensible. I do understand the motivation behind it, but nevertheless, I simply don't see it as defensible. Because, as I mentioned many, many times, ultimately we have to ask ourselves the question, who compiled the Quran? And that will lead us to the Sahaba ultimately. And if we accept that, then we have to go from there as well and trust those people. Then with the establishment of a caliphate, a specific tradition, and then hadiths. So I personally, I come from a very, very skeptic background. And therefore to this very day, I am of course skeptical about the hadiths, because to this very day I cannot find sufficient evidence to claim that the hadiths are just as preserved as the Quran is. I definitely cannot find the same rigorous approach as we can with the Quran. Absolutely not. I mean, let alone that the Quran has been recited by now thousands and thousands of people and memorized. So that is not the same case, the same instance with the hadith. So there are certain problematic issues with the hadith, I would say. However, I'm not a all-out hadith rejecter or anything on those lines. I don't define myself anyways. I'm very lucky ultimately to have found Islam in my 30s, alhamdulillah, and therefore I don't necessarily have to subscribe to any particular group. Quite the opposite. If we go by the Quran, of course, we have to say that we are Muslim and we shouldn't fall into sectarianism, and therefore I don't. Right? Very, very simple. Boxing or BJJ for self-defense, Bobby? Okay, let me put it like this. I used to train a lot of boxing, especially my younger days. Nowadays, I don't. I concentrate on BJJ. However, for self-defense purposes, I would always recommend to be able to strike. Let alone the distance management that you learn from boxing. So boxing is most definitely crucial for the streets, which does not mean that BJJ wouldn't be sufficient in certain situations. I mean, okay, if you get into an alteration with somebody that actually trains martial arts, then you have a problem anyways, right? Because then it comes down to each of your levels. So if you get into a fight with a, let's say, amateur MMA fighter, you're screwed, most definitely, if you have no training. If you have a little bit of training, you're just as screwed, or even more screwed, probably, because you will try to show off some moves, or you will try to use some moves that you have. And if the MMA fighter sees that you could potentially even be a threat, then he will, of course, fight you so much harder, right? So if we're talking about trained people, that's a whole other ball game either way. Then the most skilled, the strongest one wins, of course. But when it comes down to just regular layman on the streets, it is absolutely sufficient for me, for example, to defuse a regular person. Like when somebody comes and swings with the arm, oh, like you see those punches come in from a mile away. So to simply take that person down and choke them out, or even just immobilize them, is really not a big deal, right? So therefore, BJJ itself, to defend yourself, is in itself a closed system, especially if you don't go into sport BJJ, but into self-defense BJJ. It should be sufficient against a average attacker, but to have some strikes always helps. So I'm happy that I'm able to strike and, yeah, use both, of course. That's how I see it. Ultimately, again, for the street, when we're talking about a blue belt level BJJ, you're going to be better than 99% of people on the street, aside from if you really find some extremely strong natural freak of nature. There are a few people like that, but it's very, very rare. But so a blue belt for the streets will be already sufficient, and a blue belt can take 3 years, roughly, if you're really at it, depending on the school. And the same would be said about boxing then as well. So if you train boxing for 3 years, you're going to be very, very sufficient. Even after 2 years, you can have quite some vicious strikes down. Yeah. But boxing, if you don't want to do it for sport, but just for the streets, then I would recommend doing jiu-jitsu and simply doing boxing class once or twice per week. It's definitely sufficient. That's how I see it. Crypto Monk says, in my school, 1.5 years for blue belt. Yeah, it's definitely possible. And some people get the blue belt after 1.5 years. The school that I was in, it took roughly 3 years. So it depends where you are, you know. If it is a real hobbyist school, many people will get their blue belts way, way faster, and the other belts as well. But if you're about to compete, for example, it's not very advantageous to get the belts early. Of course, there is a thing called sandbagging where you just hold onto the blue belt. But matter of fact, I have competed surely at competitions, for example, at blue belt level. You might have some blue belts that are really on purple belt level, basically. And yeah, at purple belt, you might have people that are black belt level already. It all depends how fast they get promoted, because ultimately you want to win competitions as well. And everybody does it. So they definitely stay in their belts for a long time to win as many competitions as possible before they move up. Anyways, we had another super chat. Thank you very much. 11 euros. That's an odd number, and I haven't had a euro super chat for a while. Thank you very much. Let me give you an applause as well. Let me read this out by Tunjai Ensioglu. Salam, Bobby. Assalam. I have something very interesting for you. What's the best way to contact you? Yeah, you can contact me via my email. I think it's in the description box, but if not, I'm going to post it now in the chat. So that's my business email, if you will. You can contact me there. Crypto Monk asks, Salamu alaikum, Bobby. Wa alaikum assalam. Could you say punching is halal in training for boxing? I don't know if boxing is worth it only for body sparring. So the way that I understood it, first and foremost, right away, punching to the face is haram. However, that's what I heard. I'm not here to give a fatwa. If you wear a headgear, ultimately, then it becomes halal. That's what I heard. Okay? Depends who you ask. But that wouldn't be a direct strike to the face as such. You're protecting your face to an extent, of course. I mean, you can still break a nose through the headgear, to be honest. It can happen. But nevertheless, I heard an opinion that if you're wearing a headgear, it wouldn't be haram. If I'm wrong, please correct me. That's what I heard. It's not my fatwa nor opinion, just what I heard yet again. But yeah, I personally wouldn't train boxing either if I wouldn't head strike. It's very unrealistic, of course, because if you're training for battle, if you're training for the streets, you're not gonna just body punch. Of course not. You're gonna strike the face. That's just what it is. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Tunjai. Appreciate it, bro. When did I convert or revert to Islam? It has been not this year before Ramadan, but the year before Ramadan. So that is 1.5 years ago, closing in on 2 years, slowly but surely. Yeah. That's about it. Steve, the atheist, says, I can't prove a God doesn't exist, exactly, but I can prove that your God is either evil or doesn't exist. No, you cannot prove that. Just as you said, you cannot disprove the existence of God, and therefore your moral view of right, wrong, good, evil is subjective. And therefore, if you assume that something within our religion is evil for you, it's still your subjective opinion, man, and has nothing to do with objective morals and says absolutely nothing about our God. Do you see? So therefore, you cannot debunk it whatsoever. It's quite amazing. So if you look, for example, at a David Wood, right, his argument is oftentimes, not exclusively, of course, but he brings this argument quite often. He looks into certain war practices of Islam, and then he says, yeah, well, you know, that's just wrong. And you, dear viewer, I'm paraphrasing, of course, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't go to war. So there you see that your morals are already superior to those of the Prophet of Islam, don't you see? And that's, of course, absolutely ridiculous, because we do believe that the Quran is the revelation, the word of God. And in the Quran, we read that you might love something which is bad for you, and you might hate something which is good for you, right? And then it continues as well and says in the end that fighting has been ordained for you, right? So yes, absolutely, without any being shy about it, ultimately, in Islam we have war conduct of war, and that is of course absolutely fantastic, because ultimately if you look into the real world, you will see that there's always war, right? If I could snap my fingers and now it would be world peace, cool, awesome. As humans, we want that. But the reality of this world, this proving ground, is that there are wars consistently. And therefore, every country, every superpower especially, has their army, has their way of warfare, right? Right now we have a specific conflict going on, right? You always will have warfare, and therefore better be prepared, right? And if you look into Islamic warfare, you will see that it's the most just, and it always inclines towards peace. And it fights degeneracy and idolatry. So it couldn't be any better, essentially, if you look into war practices. Of course, there are many nuances. We shouldn't burn down nature. You shouldn't shoot civilians, right? That's something that some people should take to their heart, right? Shouldn't attack animals, etc., etc. So it's a very just conduct, and it is mentioned within Islam how to conduct yourself. So now you might have another religion that doesn't mention it so explicitly, even though if you look into Christianity and Hinduism, you will of course find war passages as well, but be that as it may. So what does that tell us? It simply tells us that war is a reality, and Islam is equipped for that reality, right? But then you have people, again, as I said, they don't have an objective standard for their claim whatsoever or for their morals. And then they say, well, oh, here it says you should go to war. But you don't want to go to war, don't you? So therefore your morals are already superior. That's ridiculous. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Who are you to decide what is right and wrong, right? And that is, of course, what we see with the atheists always. They will tell you right and wrong and good and evil, but they have no basis for their morals at all. Zero. It's all subjective, or they will base it on something arbitrary such as society, right? Whatever benefits society. But then they have their specific rules, of course, what they believe benefits society again. right? If I say, for example, the whole rainbow mafia doesn't benefit society. Hey, Kiko, check, neem maar op de kapot camera, okay? That's my son. 1 second. Yeah, excuse the interruption, guys. That's my son. Kiko. Bye bye. Bye bye. So cute. Yeah, I'm always trying to not show him on social media. That's the whole point. That's why I keep this interruption a bit awkward because, yeah, I know other people, they are not shy. They simply show their kids on social media. You have so many perverts and crazy people online that I most definitely don't want to show my children. Anyways, as I was saying, the atheists don't have any moral grounding, and therefore when they make moral claims, it's simply subjective. And why would I care? So my son just came in. My son would have liked to continue to watch TV now, right? He watched 20 minutes of TV whilst eating. We allowed it to him, and now he wants to watch more TV and even more TV. Let's just watch TV the whole night, right? And that is his moral standard of right and wrong. In his mind, it is right to keep on watching TV. But now I have to say, no, you can't, right? And I might appear to the child's mind as absolutely unjust, right? Brutal. But I know something that the little kid doesn't. And that is just on a human level, because in the grand scheme of things, that is not a big leap of intelligence. However, God, Allah, being the infinite intelligence, of course, he knows what is right and wrong for us, right? But the atheists wouldn't understand that either way. It's fine. We have another super chat. Thank you very much, Mr. T. Good to see you, bro. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum assalam. Would you consider learning Arabic, learning the recitation of Quran in Tajweed by a teacher? How has your life changed after reverting? So first and foremost, yes. Right now, I'm not actively learning, but I am learning Arabic. And inshallah, it is of course I don't want to say lifelong project, but a long project for sure. But most definitely, I want to learn Arabic. It's one of my top things to do when it comes down to Islam. About Tajweed, yeah, it's not so motivating for me at the moment, but it's definitely something that I can imagine myself doing a bit later in life. And how has your life changed after reverting? Honestly, not so much, to be totally honest. It has been a coming to myself in a way. Because if we really believe as Muslims that there is such a thing as the fitrah, that every child is born upon, right? Then we have to take into consideration that this feeling of being a Muslim cannot be alienating to us then. Because it would mean, if the theory is right, that we've been born as Muslims upon the fitrah and we innately understood what it means to submit to God, right? And so therefore, for me, Islam is just the icing on the cake, if you will. Because I went through, of course not all, but a lot of different spiritual practices, meditative practices, different religions, Hinduism, Buddhism, then into shamanism, different plant medicines, quote unquote, right? I went through all of that just in order to then try to return to God. And I tried it through Orthodox Christianity, the religion of my parents. And doing that, I already started deciphering quite a lot through the Old Testament especially. Because the Old Testament, I mean, of course, there's a lot of confusion in it as well, but if you read it with an open mind, it is not so much different than the Quran. The Quran is just much more concise and cuts out all the wrongs, ultimately. But even so, if you have a halfway functioning mind, you read through the Old Testament, you will see what is considered right and wrong by God quite clearly. And so therefore, I came closer and closer and closer to God through the Old Testament, through my pilgrimages, through prayer especially. And so even as an Orthodox Christian, especially in the later days when I decided fully that I cannot accept the Trinity, I was already a monotheist, right? And then reading the Quran, it was so affirming. It was not something alien to me whatsoever. And that is what was so surprising, because I expected the Quran to be the enemy's book. I said that in my videos back then, and to find the devil in the book, etc. All that nonsense. But reading the Quran simply was what I already believed, right? On a spiritual level, I already believed that there's only one God. And I have to go so far, even though people won't believe it, of course. But through my spiritual experiences, I don't find myself in a belief, but in a knowingness. So just as I know that there is air around me that I can breathe. So now if I want to be extra philosophical about it, of course I could say, well, maybe this is all a simulation, a matrix of sorts, and I don't really know if this is air that I'm breathing, right? It could be anything. Maybe I'm plugged into a machine somewhere else and I just believe that I'm breathing air. Okay, sure. We can always go into infinite loops, but the way that I understand that there is air around me that I breathe, even though the air is invisible, that's the knowingness that I have about God as well. I know that God is one, uniquely one, and that He exists. Matter of fact, I understand that my own existence is contingent on God. I know that for a fact. I know that I couldn't exist any other way, and I experience that. I experience that my existence comes directly from God. Without Him, there would be nobody around. There would be no life force, if you will. So this is something that I clearly understood even before reverting to Islam. And therefore, Islam, as I said, is the icing on the cake. It is essentially how I project myself into this quote-unquote real world. That's how it works. And yeah, therefore my life in that regard hasn't changed much. I enjoy greatly the praying 5 times per day. That is probably even the thing that kind of tipped me towards accepting Islam in the end, once I understood what it means to pray 5 times per day, to always re-establish this connection to God, is absolutely amazing. Going to the mosque, of course. But other than that, I still just do my thing. I'm not a big community guy, so therefore, especially here being in Thailand, I'm surrounded by many Muslims, but yeah, it didn't really change much about my closest circle in that regard. However, when it comes down to family, I talked about this many times here on this channel, so to this very day I haven't talked to my father, for example. I mean, I try to talk to him, but he doesn't talk to me. So yeah, may Allah guide us all, and yeah, inshallah, strengthen those family bonds, but at the moment we are not talking to each other, and that's just what it is. And I heard from other family members as well that they cannot accept my reversion, because on the Balkan, as I mentioned as well multiple times, Islam is seen as the enemy in the Christian world, and you seem to be a traitor when you switch camps. That's how they see it. They don't understand, so it's fine. Anyways, thank you very much for the super chat. Appreciate it, bro. We have another super chat by Hani Gozani. Thank you very much for the 9 SGD or 888. Salam, Bobby. Assalam. Would you consider making more Islamic knowledge content, such as reviewing some tafsir of surahs in Al Quran or reviewing Islamic books? Yeah, most definitely. I'm reading a few Islamic books myself, and I can definitely imagine myself doing that. However, probably not as a video, but much more as a live stream. Yeah, any recommendations like that, I'm always keen to diversify my content, so to speak, and I would most definitely do that on a live stream. I think that would be great. Bobby Salam is Skopje. Salam do Skopje. Okay. God is beyond all language. He revealed scriptures to David, Moses, and Jesus. They didn't speak Arabic. Okay, that's totally stupid. So in which languages did he reveal then to David, Moses, and Jesus? Genius. So low IQ, it's unbelievable. Numan Ali Khan is great to listen to. Yeah, I saw a few things of his. They're definitely good. Would agree. Please, Bobby, watch the Gaza Ghetto Uprising video essay to the end. It is extremely beneficial to use as reference to debate a Zionist. Okay, inshallah, I will have a look. By the way, we don't believe that Allah only speaks Arabic, right? I hope that is clear. Ay, 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 ay. What changed your opinion on veganism? Well, that's an interesting question. It's quite amazing, you know, as always, this is not surprising whatsoever. No matter what you do in life, once you change, ultimately, people that before that loved you, at least superficially, will start hating you. That's just how it goes, right? So many vegans that I was friendly with, let's put it that way, and generally wanted to help them out. Once I became a dirty flesh eater, a carnist, they of course started hating on me, started making videos about me, etc. Because for them, veganism is a religion. And it is quite funny because most of them are atheists and therefore they don't want to accept that they actually do have a religion. So when you tell them veganism is your religion, they cannot understand it whatsoever and they will rebel. But of course, it is your religion. It is your faith, ultimately. It is your belief system. And it is what dictates your morals. So I believe that this is very important to understand because religion as well will dictate your moral worldview. That's just what it is. It's inescapable. And therefore, veganism falls exactly in that niche, in that category. Because veganism will determine what you find to be right and wrong. According to the newest update of veganism, that is, of course. If you look into the olden days of veganism, you had this definition of the vegan society, essentially abstaining from animal products as much as possible or as feasible, something on those lines. It was a bit vague, but ultimately, under this definition, as much as possible, maybe for you it is not possible to be a vegan, so therefore you might have to eat some eggs, and maybe this is as much as possible for you, right? But anyways, all of that said, what changed my opinion on veganism? Ultimately, veganism was something that you can try yourself on your own body, and therefore it is not necessarily something that you have to be convinced or, let's say, convinced otherwise of, right? Because it's quite simple. I mean, if we're talking about a religion and people didn't have a really deep religious experience, then sure, they can choose a religion based upon what kind of feels good at the moment. This is what we see with many Christians or people that accept Christianity, quote unquote. But when it comes down to veganism, you can go vegan and you can see how you feel. And most people, most sane people, I have to say, because looking back, I was most definitely not sane during that time. But most sane people can realize that after a few days, something is lacking, something is missing, something is going very, very wrong here, and then they will drop out of veganism. So for me personally, I was an ideological vegan. This is why when vegans now say, oh, Bobby, his perspective, he was never really a vegan. For me, it's laughable because I know what I was, and I was most definitely a hardcore animal rights vegan, if you will, for 4 years straight. I was so happy about being a vegan as well back then, and that's how I wanted to live my life. I didn't want to drop out of veganism. I wanted to save the animals. That was my lens. That was my perspective back then. I really thought that eating animals is bad. That's really how I saw it. And I would have stayed vegan if I would have felt great. But matter of fact, during the time of veganism, I couldn't do any martial arts anymore in the end at all because I was so extremely exhausted. Was still lifting some weights, torturing myself, but it was so hard. All my weights were dropping down, of course. I became very, very weak, very emaciated. And then I simply tried every trick in the vegan book, right? Be it a raw vegan diet, be it a cooked vegan diet, be it a whole food plant-based diet, be it a high protein vegan diet, no matter what it was, I tried literally everything. And of course, I tried to supplement everything there was as well. And I, matter of fact, was very, very religious with my supplementation as well. So that means, of course, I was consuming the B vitamins, the B12s, the B6 even, right? And more than that, I was consuming as well vitamin D3, a vegan DHEA supplement or DHA supplement, and yeah, pretty much everything you can think of, be it zinc, be it magnesium, be it calcium, vitamin A, beta carotene. I tried everything and it didn't work. So how did that look like that it didn't work? So what happened is, first and foremost, my teeth started rotting. I had terrible dental health. Unbelievable, because before that I never had any issues with my teeth. Now they're good again, alhamdulillah. But yeah, during that time it was terrible. I had to get root canal treatments, which is absolutely disgusting. I don't recommend to anybody. I had a severe depression which couldn't be lifted no matter what I did at all, zero. And yeah, then to simply see the contrast, of course, after eating a few eggs, after eating raw fish, to simply see the depression is gone completely. How can that be? Right? And again, I can't convince anybody that doesn't want to believe, so therefore I really don't care. But the vegans will tell you, oh, well, then he just ate more calories or more protein. No, that is not the case, because matter of fact, what I did is I always used to eat chia seeds and flax seeds and hemp seeds and all of that gunk. And so I replaced the chia seeds with one egg at first. That's it. And I calculated the calories, so everything stays the same. The protein, the calories, the fats, all of it stays, at least on paper, the same. And then we will see how that goes. Right? That was the whole practice. And matter of fact, just one egg helped tremendously. And then once I started replacing the tofu with raw fish, yeah, well, go figure. Every idiot knows, of course, that this will make you feel so much better. Yeah, that was it. So for a while I was a pescatarian then, and that felt way, way better. But I didn't feel so grounded yet. Something was still missing. And then I started eating raw beef predominantly, and that made me feel pretty good, absolutely. And more eggs, some dairy here and there. Yeah, just good human foods. And I saw a night and day difference. It was quite amazing. So I just felt like myself again. My brain worked again. I wasn't depressed anymore. I was happy again. I was appreciative, right? I wasn't so aggressive all the time. So yeah, it's quite amazing. Makes you feel calm, makes you feel relaxed. It's very, very nice. Oh yeah, butter. Raw butter was definitely a game changer as well. Super yummy and yeah, super healthy for you. So this is what changed my mind on veganism, my own health. My health was declining. Oh yeah, one thing that I didn't mention. During veganism, I was going to the toilet 16 times per day. And there was literally nothing I could do. In the end, the only thing I could do, believe it or not, because I tried everything. I couldn't eat any beans. Impossible. I would run to the toilet right away. I couldn't eat any tofu anymore. I would run to the toilet right away. I couldn't eat any meat replacements anymore. I would run to the toilet every single time. So everything I ate would give me a diarrhea. That's just what it is. As disgusting as it is, but it's true. And so therefore the only thing that I could eat in the end was white rice. That was the only thing that worked. I couldn't even eat potatoes anymore because I would have to run to the toilet. So yeah, white rice, and then I tried a little bit of protein powder, plant protein powder. That was the only thing I could somewhat eat. Everything else would just trigger my gut. It was absolutely miserable, right? So yeah, it was impossible for me to be on a vegan diet. I make the claim that everybody would be healthier on a animal-based diet for sure. Because if you look at our anatomy, you will see, of course, that we are not herbivorous animals. We're omnivorous. I'm not a hardcore carny. We are only supposed to eat meat. No, that's not the case. We can eat a wide variety of foods, of course, but there are foods that make us feel better, of course, and foods that make us feel worse. And therefore, most definitely, the main bulk of your calories should come from animal foods, hands down. But yet again, if somebody wants to eat vegan, I have no issues with them. More meat for me, I really couldn't care less. But that being said, for me personally, most definitely it didn't work at all. And the same applied to literally everybody that I knew. Right? So let me put it this way. This might be an appeal to majority, but nevertheless, we can definitely conclude, looking at human history and humanity as a whole, there is a reason why most people are not vegetarians and vegans. There's a reason for that, because most people know, at least still to an extent, what makes them feel good and what not. Of course, make the claim that 90% of people nowadays eat very, very crappy diets, if you even want to call it a diet. But nevertheless, intuitively, at least they understand that they do need meat. Even people with really the crappiest diets there are, they still understand intrinsically that they do need meat, which is of course factual, because meat has all the nutrients that we need in a bioavailable form. That's what it is. So therefore, it's quite interesting, honestly, because when I look at vegans, yet again, many of them, not all, but many of them, are so miserable. It's unbelievable. They're suffering. They are on antidepressants. They have digestive upset. They go through all kinds of surgeries. It is the case. It's just factual. And then they hate on the healthy meat eaters. For what? For me, it was always very important in life to look at people and their results, and then to decide if I want to go the same route. So if I see somebody that, let's say, he made a lot of money in a halal way, then I might listen to the person and say, hey, that's interesting. Teach me. I want to learn how to make money like you. Okay? Or I see somebody that is radiant in health. Then I will ask as well, okay, what do you do for your health? Let me know. I'm very interested in people that are older and are still fit. That for me is very interesting. So 60 years above, they always like to listen when people like that talk. How did they keep fit throughout their life, etc. But when it comes down to vegans, there's literally not one vegan on the planet that I want to replicate at all, in any regard, whatsoever, right? Because their results are disgusting. That's just what it is. The lives of vegans are always very, very miserable, and I don't want any part in that. You have some vegans on steroids, and then they are benching whatever, and then they think, well, but I can bench a lot of weight. Yeah, I personally don't bench press at all. I find it absolutely ridiculous. Why would I bench press? I just don't see a point in that activity. I used to do it when I was a teenager, in my early 20s, even late 20s. But yeah, I don't see that as any accomplishment. All right, I'm sitting here. I'm very happy. I have 2 kids. Inshallah, I want to have more. And I want to build a strong family. And then you have like a vegan on steroids and he tells you, yeah, but I can bench press more than you. Yeah, I couldn't care less. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't make you better in any regard whatsoever. You understand? So that's not what I'm talking about. I'm simply talking about the mental state, the mental health, the health overall, the contentment, the happiness, right? The radiance, the spiritual connection to God as well, their families. So I simply don't see anything that is worth mimicking in any regard at all. Zero. Yeah, long rant, man. But ultimately it boils down to that veganism sucks big time. It's gay and it destroys health. And I've seen that in too many people. And yeah, I'm team human for sure. First and foremost, I'm team Islam, of course. But then secondarily, I'm team human. And I generally wish every human well, my brothers and sisters in humanity. I want the best for them. And of course, I will care more for a human than I care for an animal. But even that, we don't even have to make that equivalent. It's simply that I want everybody to be healthy. And I know that most people won't be healthy when they're eating a vegan diet. That's just what it is. Simple. Okay. Yes, Steve. You are a kafir. That's what it is. Okay, anyways, guys. Thank you everybody that supports. As I said, if you want to support the channel, super chat. Thank you very much. Power up the channel. Merci beaucoup. Now let's jump into some videos. I have a variety of videos. I generally don't know what we're going to watch first. It's not Islamic.
That client review was brutal.
We're gonna be underwater.
Oh, commercials. Most of it is just random stuff. Actually, one thing is a bit Islamic. It's about Putin. All kinds of crazy things that I clicked on. Didn't watch fully though. Yeah. 1 second. Yep, here we go. Okay. People want me to react to Louis Marco as well. Maybe we're going to check it out. Do you know Louis Marco? This is probably way too much time back for most of the audience here. Louis Marco was back in the day a big bodybuilding YouTuber. He was always natty. He's the guy that was always saying, salute you, saluted. And he apparently is 50 years old by now and still single and didn't get married because he got too red-pilled. I think that would be quite interesting to look into that video as well, because the red pill movement definitely brings this danger with it, of course, that you simply see all women as hoes and then you don't get married. Then you end up an absolute, idiot because you didn't procreate, and that's the name of the game. If you don't spread your DNA, you haven't been successful. Let me tell you that much. Let's Talk Religion is a good choice. Yeah, I absolutely love his channel, man. I would like to reach out to him and connect, for sure. I love his videos. Team Human is Team Islam by default. Yeah, we still have the Kuffar, right? So it's not by default. Okay. Anyways, yeah, okay, I'm going to start with Louis Marco just for the sake of it, and then we're going to see how it goes. If it's too boring, then I'm not going to continue. As I said, as far as I know, the guy's 50 years old by now, the poor guy. The last time that I checked him out, he was in his 40s, early 40s. But now he's in his 50s, as far as I understand it. He lives in Canada, and I believe that he is of Arab origin. That's what I understood. But I don't know if he's a Christian Arab, if he's Muslim. He looks very blonde and white, though. I know there are some Arabs like that, but that's why I didn't make the connection back in the day. The Arabs that I knew in Germany, they were usually kind of tanned, black hair. So yeah, this guy looks like a Westerner. I always thought he's Russian back in the day. But anyways, okay, let me put it on, and then we'll see. I believe that this is definitely a cautionary tale when it comes down to the red pill. Okay, the video is titled Crazy Story. Let's have a look like this. So he has a cat. Yeah, on that note, I have nothing against animals, right? Don't get me wrong. I personally don't own any. I'm not interested in becoming the slave of the animals. It's very restricting. If you want to spontaneously travel, you have to have people that are looking after them, etc. So yeah, it's not my first choice. But nevertheless, I do like animals. But people that are living alone, they have no wife, they have no kids, of course they use the animals as a replacement. That's just what it is. And I have nothing against Louis. He seems to be a nice guy. But that's just really what it is. People seek company, and ultimately people want to have children intrinsically. But if they don't, they try to replace it with cats and dogs. And it's very, very sad. You see that, of course, with many ladies as well. Okay, let's listen.
What's up, guys? LUI. Hi. Saluted be with Jamila on deck tonight.
Jamila.
Well, hell, tonight, allow me to touch upon a subject that is, quite unusual. But hey, I want to share it with you guys. It is up to you to believe it or not. Quite frankly, at a certain point, I was not a believer in this. And even now, for me, it's not kind of a big deal because things happened in the past and you live and you learn. But hey, take a listen and you make of it whatever you will. You do you, bro. More power to you if you believe in these things or not. Frankly, I'm not gaining any fame nor money by saying this. And wait till the end, because at the very end, I'm going to share with you one special story, bro, that happened to me. What was most likely the craziest one in my whole life.
I'm going to play it on 1.5 speed. Let's see if we can hang on like that. I speak very slowly myself. I know how it is. Let's see.
Right? And I'm half a century, bro, old. I'm 50. Anyway, you see, when you're old, and you're of my generation.
I'm going to put it on 1.2.5. 1.25. So as you just said, he's 50 years old.
If you're my age, most likely you will definitely relate to this. Back in
I think he looks pretty good for 50 years old, though.
the day, dating was very easy. It was the easiest thing ever. It happened Just like that. It was not this tedious. Right now it's the opposite. But back in the day, contact with the opposite sex, or just everybody for that matter, was rather gentle and just proper and easygoing, right? And while I happen to have
Yeah, on that note, I don't think that it is harder nowadays either. I think it's harder for him now because now he's 50. That's just what it is. Like when you're 20, you're surrounded by much more young women your age, and therefore it is much easier for you. But when you get into your 50s, dating becomes, of course, harder. But it's not because of the times. I would say that dating is much, much easier nowadays with all the apps, etc. It's not hard to find something.
dated a lot of women. Again, if I just count the serious ones that lasted months to years, I have to stop and take a think. So they're quite. And in between, you know what happens, situationships. Although back then we called them something else, but in all actuality, they were situationships, not long relationship or flings, so to speak. And those I cannot count. Am I proud of that? Actually, no. If I have to go back in time, I will reduce my body notch by a whole lot, believe you me. But hey, we cannot go back in time, only take care of the future, and hopefully, basically, it's gonna get better. That being said, quite frankly, honest to God, I did not mingle, nor date, nor encounter anybody since 2017. So do the math, I'm pushing, oh Lord, almost 8 years of proper singledom, celibacies, baby please, on a daily basis, plus abstinence, total abstinence all day, every day. Is it hard, tedious? No. Frankly, no.
Yeah, okay, so basically what he says now is, see, that's exactly the problem, because I think he's going to go into actually a supernatural story a bit later. Not because I watched the video, but somebody told me about this. However, now, first and foremost, let's dissect what is happening here. The guy says that he's now 50, and since he's 42, essentially, he's been celibate, and it's not even hard for him anymore, right? And that is just nature catching up. That's really what it boils down to, because you by now, 50, in a normal environment, you would be a grandfather already. That's just how it is. So even if you, let's say, would have had kids with 20, and those kids would have had kids when they were 20, then now you would have grandchildren that are 10 years old. That's just how it is, right? In a somewhat normal scenario. Of course, if you go back into the generation of my grandparents, it would have been even earlier than that, right? So yeah, matter of fact, biologically speaking, he's a grandparent now. That's what it is. But in reality, he's not even a father at all. However, when he reached 42 and didn't procreate whatsoever, but as he self-admittedly said there, he's been just jumping around from relationship to relationship, woman to woman. And then at 42, the body just declines in testosterone, of course, and simply doesn't want to chase any longer. It is what it is, right? And now he's been by himself, alone, with no wife, no children, let alone grandchildren, for 8 years celibate. It's unbelievable, right? But that's really what it boils down to, because his whole fertility is wasted now. Not that he couldn't impregnate a woman. Of course, as men, we can do it on our deathbed, honestly. But matter of fact, his time has passed, right? He could have done it in his 20s, 30s, okay, maybe still in the 40s, and he did not. And so with 42, it all just stopped, and now he's living with his cat in his home. It's rather sad, to be totally honest.
Then again, would have been able to do this if I was younger? Most likely not. In my 20s, it's just impossible. Is that a reason? No, it's a combination of few reasons that just make it this way. And quite frankly, most men my age are like this. When I meet my friends who are my age, we don't even talk the same way we were doing when we were younger. When you're younger, you're like a rabbit, you know what I mean? Your testosterone is at the roof. You think with your hormones, and that's just the way it is. So age happened, your T goes down, testosterone most likely goes down, combined with other factors. Basically, you see what's going on. You're more mature.
Yeah, absolutely. It is not only the testosterone that goes down. Of course, that's a huge factor. Testosterone being a sexual hormone, or the sexual hormone, if you will. And so therefore, testosterone obviously is a big part of the reason why you want to jump from one woman to the other, surely. But there is just decay ultimately, because aging, if you look at it from biological level, it is accumulated damage. It is decay. Your body doesn't repair as well anymore, and so therefore it just goes downhill. All the mechanisms in the body shut down, slow down, and therefore you simply don't want to have so much sex. It's very obvious. And it's just natural, because at your age, you're 50 now, you shouldn't anymore, right? So now you should leave it to the next generation to come, to your kids and to your grandkids then in a few years. But you haven't done that, right? And that's why you find yourself in that situation. So he says now it's kind of easier. Yeah, of course it's easy. Now it's super easy because you're at that age. Of course it's easy for you to abstain now because you're 50. Duh.
To be savvy, you think you understand that you are on your own. If you fall at my age, you will never recover. We call this the gray divorce. Like if I elect to engage right now and things go south, and chances are they will go south, I'll be in a big loss. I will not recover. I'm not getting any younger. I cannot bounce back and recover myself financially, and it will take a toll.
That's so absolutely insane. Guys, on that note, I'm reacting to this video now, so I cannot read the chat, obviously. So if you want your questions read, send a super chat, support the channel. It always goes a long way. It truly helps, as I said many, many times. Please support Bobby's perspective, and I'm going to keep on reacting here for your entertainment purposes. Anyways, so yeah, it's absolutely crazy. This guy, again, I like him because back in the day, I watched a lot of his content. When it comes down to bodybuilding, I thoroughly enjoyed it. But what he's saying here is so utterly insane. And really, it makes me not stutter, but kind of grasp for words. Because he proclaims that if you would go into a marriage now and then get divorced, and that is highly likely, as he mentioned, right? Because that's all he sees, just divorces, divorces. I remember his old content, man. When he was still in his 40s, he was claiming, well, I would never get married, just to get divorced, etc. He really got into this red pill stuff. And yeah, now he claims, still with the same mindset, if I would get married now, I couldn't recover of that anymore. Like if it goes south after a few years, I wouldn't be able to recover. But what are you talking about? Recover and then get where? You right now have been alone for 8 years, man. This is truly shocking. And I'm generally feeling sorry for him because I like the guy. So how much worse should it get? Wouldn't it be better to get together with a woman? Of course, whatever you have to do in the West, get a prenup, etc., etc. Okay, get together with a woman, make some children. And then if it is supposed to fail, God forbid, okay, then get a divorce. That's what it is. But at least you produced some children. At least you procreated. You got forward in life. You left something for this life. Why do you want your genes to be exiting the gene pool? Right? Being weeded out of existence. Why? How can you even think like that? If I were him, I'm generally saying this, if I don't see any other perspective, I would go to South America or to Asia and get a woman, and they will stick with you, man. If you provide for them, if you're halfway decent, and make some children. At least procreate. Create a bunch of kids. Do something productive. Instead of sitting there for 8 years straight, not having any intercourse with anybody, not creating anything, for what? And now he's still thinking, that's this Western mindset, it's unbelievable, even though I really believe that he is from Arabic descent. But now in his 50s, he's wondering, is it really worth it to get married? Because if I do, and then I get divorced, I couldn't recover from this. Wow. This is unbelievable, man. Super far gone.
Only financially and also emotionally if I have a kid with somebody. And that's another whole story. But tonight, I want to share with you some things I did not know. By no stretch of imagination, I had such a knowledge. Guys, believe it or not, and again, if you've been through my path or a similar path, you probably will relate to this. Guys, when you are intimate with a lot of people, not only you're sharing emotions and intimacy, maybe projects, feelings, whole nine yards, but there are some things that get transmitted that we don't see. I'm not talking about STDs. God is my witness. I've never caught an STD.
Spiritual
never,
image.
thankfully. Never had an STDs, baby, please. That's it. That's just the truth of the matter, right?
Yeah.
I was protecting myself. That's it. It never happened, thankfully. I never got a woman pregnant, thankfully. Although some of them tried to fool me and tell me, hey, I'm pregnant. Maybe 2 or 3 tried to lie to me, but I was not the father. But there's some other things I had no clue.
I mean, it's pretty sad, again, that he's been hooking up with women that had babies from other men, and then they wanted to blame it on him. It's, of course, very disgusting. And yeah, if you engage with such people, with such women, of course, you're going to have a very, very screwed up perspective of women in general. And in the Quran we read, and I'm paraphrasing here, of course, good women are for good men and evil women are for evil men, right? So if you're surrounded by that filth, you're going to become filthy yourself. But yeah, that being said, you should want to get women pregnant. That should be your default state. To simply have sex for pleasure is very gay.
That I was getting something spiritual, guys. I swear to you. And there's a lot of videos on TikTok, people talking about this. Women especially are talking about this. But it happened to me as well. When you're intimate with a woman, things can go back and forth that you cannot see. And they're not material. They're not diseases. They're just spiritual things that you might feel later, right? It's no secret.
I just saw Salman bin Mohammed, which is a member, he said, have kids earlier. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I talked about this as well, but you have to be very careful on YouTube. They don't want to hear the truth whatsoever. Secularists, atheists, Darwinists that believe in evolution, they believe in survival of the fittest. But when it comes down to human beings, somehow they want to just erase us off the equation and see us as something completely different, right? So, no, there is a reason why women start menstruating and men start ejaculating. That is nature determining that now you are fertile. That's just what it is, right? And yeah, people, especially just 2 generations back, 3 generations back, they were much closer to that to that understanding, of course, and they would get married very, very early. And that is the best thing you can do, of course. Hands down. Again, for the sake of YouTube here, we have to stay in our constraints. But yes, if you create children very early, then you will have much more energy, of course. You will be much fitter. So creating kids in your 30s, like I do right now, it's very tedious. It's still the best thing on the world, and I'm happy that I finally did it. But if I could turn back time, I would do it 10 years earlier, at least. I would have so much more energy. I would get so much more done, of course. Right now, oftentimes, at the end of the day, you see that the kids still have energy and you're just drained. And it's sad. I don't like to be in this situation. When I think back 10 years ago or 15 years ago, I was awake till 4 a.m. and super energetic, right? So it would be a completely different ball game having kids at that time, let alone just being able to create more kids as well, of course. So therefore, in Islam, alhamdulillah, we don't have this age of consent nonsense like in the West, where you can have sex, for example, in Germany as a 16-year-old, but you can get married as an 18-year-old. Yeah, that makes sense.
Secret. There's a lot of people who are into, let's say, witchcraft, and you think it's funny. You go to their social media posts and they post those kind of creepy stuff, witchy stuff, Halloweeny, kind of spiritual stuff. They have those yoga prayers, and basically they have those energy stones. They lit up some candles and they do some rituals. It might seem all fine and dandy. It's just funny, right? Sugar.
No, it doesn't seem fine and dandy at all. I mean, he's speaking to his predominantly Western audience, so therefore to them it might seem all funny, of course, because they've been brainwashed by Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings and whatnot. So to them it seems just fun and games. And of course they have in America Halloween and you, so it is also benign. But in Islam we have sihr, of course, and yes, we do believe in such dark magic, or magic in general is already against God, of course. So those things absolutely exist. And even before I accepted Islam, on the Balkan, be it Muslims or be it Orthodox Christians, many of them go to specific seers. They are sending magic spells and whatnot So this is something that I observed on the Balkan as well, heavily. There was still a lot of magic. Matter of fact, what is very interesting is there was more magic going around before the internet. And now some atheists would of course say, yeah, well, because the internet exposed it. No, and this is going to sound totally crazy to most. I believe that back then there was still such a spiritual feel to the Balkans. I truly believe that through the interconnectedness, be it of 3G, 4G, 5G, it really changed the perception and the perceptiveness of people. I really do so. And I think that in those olden days, magic was much stronger. Yeah, and that's all I'm going to say here. Don't quote me on that. But I generally believe that back in the day, there were many more witches, real witches. But nevertheless, even now, you're a witch by default, even if you just engage in those quote-unquote funny things, as he just said. Because so many chicks that I met as well, they're into tarot cards, they're into mini rituals, yoga, yogic practices, tantric practices, and whatnot. Every time you engage in such a thing, you are essentially summoning jinns. If you believe it or not, doesn't really matter, you still do it.
And spice and everything nice. You think it's nothing, it's something benign. But little did I know that these things can be real, man. They're just real. Truth needs to be told. Sometimes some of these girls were honest with me before even I met them. They told me, bro, me, I see this, I do that. I was like, okay, I don't care. What the hell is she talking about? Right? But little did I know, it's like when I was with that person, I've seen things that were just out of whack, man. Out of whack. There's some of them crazy, right? So I'm gonna take it easy. I'm gonna tell you one thing that I was with a girl, and I was with her. It was not even planned for me to go to her place. We ate at that restaurant, and then we went back to her place. It was a hot day, and she was renting that apartment. It was a good apartment, but she had no AC. There was no AC. And so we were watching that movie. Frankly, nothing happened that deep in a sense. There was, we were just close, but there was no spark in a sense. But she had her fan on, which is normal because it was hot. It was grueling hot, for Lord's sake. But then as we were talking, she told me, well, in any case, this fan is open all year long. I told her why, because winter is quite cold. Why would you have your fan open during winter time? She said straight up, well, to not listen to the others. I swear to you guys. What others are you talking about? And then she just told me that it's not uncommon that in that room I was with her, things just fly by, like pencils fly by, books, they go from one other to the other, and it's just normal with that. And this girl, she's a girl next door, not, no makeup, just some glasses, she goes to school, and that's it, man. That's it. She was deep in her 20s. Did I believe her? Yes, I believe that. Because at that moment I knew, because I lived some other things before that. The very first time I had such an experience, I was very young. Back then, internet was a child. It was like Windows 98 maybe, bro. You know what Windows 98 is? Windows 98 is so small you can fit it in a small chip now. It was so basic. Anyway, back then when you meet people, we meet them on chat rooms, right? You guys have no clue what I'm talking about. Chat rooms is a very basic thing. It's an HTML thing. And you don't see the person. Nobody had a camera back then. There was no camera. So people were describing themselves, like via writing. I am this high.
Yeah, I mean, you still have that, right? You have Telegram groups, even on Twitter, not everybody shows their real face.
I'm either brunette or blonde, this and that. I weigh this way. As simple as that. I was young. I met a girl. There were two of them. They came to my place. It was wintertime again. You cannot notice how people are dressed. They were dressed in black, but I didn't make a lot of it, right? Long story short, these two chicks were gothics, if you guys know what gothics are. They're quite rare nowadays. Back in the day, they were quite, popular, this kind of
Yeah, when I was very young, man, like 10, 12 years old, Gothic was huge in Germany. I couldn't understand it whatsoever, but you had many goth chicks running around.
Also sex, bro. Dressing all black. Their skin is very white. They're like freaking vampires, bro. They flee the sun. I went to their place. They used to live at some sort of a student facility. Over here we have those students, we call them Cité Universitaire. It's a dorm for students. I went there. Spent about 72 hours for 3 days. Came back home. I remember I was living in an apartment, and one of my friends was my neighbor. I brought him to live in that building block. But that precise night, he was not there. he went basically to party for his birthday, and he invited me. I was so tired, so I could not come. So I went to sleep, man, on my own, of course, as usual. And dude, a lot of things started to happen. I was on my own on that room, and long story short, I'm sleeping, and I felt like something on top of my stomach, like on top here. I made nothing. So maybe something fell on me, but there was nothing. There was just freaking nothing. And I woke up, I took a look, there was nothing. And then I went back to sleep, happened the same thing. It's like you feel something want to be seated on you. That's it. I didn't see nothing, I didn't hear nothing. But it was there. And me, I'm a believer in God. And this was like the very first time ever in my life something like that happened. And I made a connection. So what had happened is,
see, that's what I don't understand, man. So he says he's a believer in God. He believes in the paranormal, in the unseen, so to speak. He experienced it himself. But how can you go on then if you really believe in God to stay without a woman, to stay without children at all? I really don't understand it. Like, you understand what God wants from you, right? Why he created you with a penis and with balls. There's a purpose for that as well. So why would you just waste all of that? I really don't understand it, man. It's shocking to me.
as of late, I just met this chick, right? So I went back to see her the same night, and I said, should I tell her? She would say I'm crazy. Maybe it has nothing to do with her. I don't know what's going on. And then I told her, and I swear to God, guys, she told me it's impossible. I said, why it's impossible? She said, well, because Michel is like Michael in French, said because Michel is with me now. He cannot be with you. He could not be with you. I said, what the hell are you talking about? Who is Michel? And she was telling me that Michel is her over here we call them the guardian angels because they're quite Catholic here. I live in a province and people are Catholic.
Yeah, Michael. That's interesting as well. I'm not going to name who he was, but I knew a person as well that allegedly channeled the archangel Michael. Yes, for sure, it was Michael. So it's very, very interesting. Many people find more to their Christian faith like that because they had some contact with Archangel Michael. But I'm, of course, always very, very worried when it comes down to such things. Who is this Michael truly supposed to be?
Catholic. So everything is related to Catholic faith. And she said, according to her, this Michel was her guardian angel, right? Exactly. And I was always feeling that thing. It was something like a weight, a small weight that you cannot freaking describe. It's something on my stomach there. Right? Sure enough, it went away after a few days because I repented. You know, I'm a believer in God, and obviously I was sinning, so I sinned. It's like, dude, you deserve that. That's that.
Right.
Now this story, I told it to my friends back then, like a group of friends. Most of us are from the same origin, so we believe in these kind of things. You know, it happens. I mean, a lot of cultures do believe in these kind of things. One of my good friends back then hated me because he is an unbeliever. He was an unbeliever, which is quite rare. If you think about people of my background, most people are believers. Although we said that we believe in God. But him, though, he was a total...
So I do believe that this guy is a Muslim. It seems, because he mentioned the Catholics in Canada, and he always repeats that he's a believer in God from his background. And I'm 99.9% sure that he comes from an Arabic background, maybe Lebanese, I'm not too sure. And therefore, yeah, I would have to conclude that he potentially is Muslim.
Total atheist. And he was very mad at me for years, until something similar happened to him years later. It happened to him years later. Anyway, and then, bro, what I noticed is that those vibes, I call them like bad vibes, you will share them with these people. Long story short, if you are intimate with people who have some negative vibes, they might get transmitted to you, right? So if you deal with a person that tells you that I do this, or I do, I read cards, I read some tarots, or I play some, weird witchy stuff, diabolical stuff, stay away from that. Stay away, because we all love horror movies. It's exciting, but if it happens to you, something similar.
Yeah, that's another thing here for the chat. Do you enjoy horror movies? Yes or no? Because I personally don't enjoy them whatsoever. I don't understand that emotion either. I don't understand why people want to get scared. So I don't have it in me at all. I personally enjoy comedies, first and foremost. I really like to laugh when I watch a movie. That's the first thing. And then followed by movies that we don't have nowadays anymore. So be it Pulp Fiction, be it The Godfather, all that old stuff that my generation liked. Such movies with interesting dialogues. But yeah, scary movies, horror movies, I don't get it, man. I still have friends that go to horror movies to the cinema and they eat their popcorn. What's gonna happen next? So for me, it's like super lame. I don't like it at all. I don't understand it.
Or in real life, you will definitely regret it. You will definitely regret it, Samira. And that is that. And I felt this quite often. As I mentioned before, some chicks literally told me straight up that they had that connection, right? They didn't lie to me. When I met them, I sure enough believed them. And that was that. Now maybe I should move on to the last story I promised you about. This is freaky, really freaky.
Okay, go for it.
Remember when we were locked down? So it was, I think, early 2020. Everybody was locked down in my province and certainly the USA. Remember, I told you I did not mingle with nobody since 2017. So I was single, abstinent, living on my own for 3 years at that moment. 2020, I'm quite popular on social media. I was still, having interaction with bodybuilders. That night, I was having some sort of interaction with Kai Green, whatever. Also maybe a funny video about him, things like that. That was that lady who came to interact on that specific post in question. And then she wound up in my DM. I mean, I was out of it. I had no interest. It's like I receive DMs every day, bro. She's talking to me back and forth about Kai, whatever that is. And then she mentioned to me that she competes. I took a look at her profile. She had some competing pictures, You know how the competing girls are. They do those fitness stuff. All kinds of makeup. You cannot make anything of it. Too much, basically, tan. Too much, whatever. Everything is fake, pretty much. She says she's 27. And if you watch my video, it was you. And you still follow me for all I know. Oh, no. And me, I got tricked. Because I was still old. It was like 4 years ago. And by default, like usually I know that a girl who competes, usually although they claim to be natural, but they take some stuff which makes them age faster. You know what I'm talking about. They take cleanse, they take all kinds of substances.
That was the sun again.
Dry them and they remove all the fat. And they have those wrinkles already at a certain age. Fake nails, fake basically lashes, fake
Yeah, what he describes there is extensive steroid use, but it's not only the steroids. Of course, they play a huge role, the diuretics especially, but it comes down to their radical diets, their cutting diets, the excessive cardio, the excessive working out, pretty much the whole bodybuilding lifestyle. So if you take drugs in bodybuilding, it enables you to do even more. And that is a huge issue, generally. Because nowadays you have, for example, TRT clinics, and I know many guys in jiu-jitsu, etc., in their 50s, 60s as well, they're on TRT, but they don't do too much. They simply take TRT, and then they train 2, 3 times per week, and that's about it. But in bodybuilding circles, they're taking high amounts of steroids, and then they're able to work out even more, right? So that's the main thing here, because then you stress your body even more so, obviously. And the steroids make you recover, but whilst recovering, they're amplifying your metabolism, and then you just burn through everything. And this is why, ultimately, people age so fast. So if you would just take those steroids, I'm not saying that this is a good thing, but if you would just take them and not exercise at all, then it wouldn't be half as bad, generally. Because if you look at steroids, medicinally speaking, they prescribe them to people with cancers, AIDS, waist syndrome, etc. So people that are severely sick, they're getting those steroids to rebuild their bodies and to maintain, right? So therefore, by themselves, steroids are not really the end-all, be-all, this will kill you type of drug. However, if you take this anabolic effect and then you just torture yourself in the gym 10,000 hours, then you might as well die earlier, for sure. So it's a combination of things, for sure. Yeah, exactly. It's the on the daily, baby please. Exactly, that's him. Nice guy, but unfortunately the red pill got him, and now he's 50 and still has no family. Sad.
Hair extension, everything is fake. Some of them inject and they overdo it when it comes to makeup and that tan. So it's just what it is. Usually they age too quick. She's 27. And I said, okay, well, send me a picture. I was, to be honest with you, I said, okay, this is 27. She's blonde. Usually blonder girls get older faster, if you know what I mean, that their skin is more fragile. She's probably hit the wall.
Yeah, that's actually very true as well. You know the saying, black don't crack. And I would say the same applies even more so to Asian women, especially Filipinos. They're aging very, very slowly. So their elasticity, their skin elasticity is much better. But white people really age fast, man. That's really the case. White women in their 30s look like other women in their late 40s usually. For sure.
She sent me a picture. I swear to God, by God, one picture of her face. No sexuality, no nakedness, nothing like that, bro. Believe it or not, a mere face. And guess what? To put it blatantly and just simply, she was attractive. So even an old dude like myself, I was 45, my instincts are definitely under control, my T is low, I didn't salute nobody for 3 years. I was not into it. Frankly, she was beautiful, definitely way better than average. She was up there, at least in my taste. And that we're talking back and forth. And guess where she lives? She's in the US, but the East Coast. No idea if I mentioned what happens in the East Coast. There's something special in those states, like we call them New England, Massachusetts, New Hampshire. She was in this one here, New Hampshire, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Maine, you know, Vermont, good Lord, I almost forgot. Vermont is just next to me, by the way. She was there. Back then she was living with a dude. He was in his 40s. But then she started to insist on certain things, like she was telling me about some spiritual stuff. Dude, the same night, I swear to God, she insisted. She wanted to come and visit me. I said, you cannot come, first of all. Thankfully, the border was closed. The border was closed between states and even between provinces. You cannot move from the US here. It's impossible. Only basically some trucks were allowed to move about under very tight conditions. You cannot come. Why would you come in? Plus, you have a dude. And then she wanted, I swear to God, she wanted to send me some books. Give me your address and send you some books and this and that. So it didn't happen. The next day she came back to me and she told me I was dreaming about you. I've seen you in my dream. And frankly, when she was writing things, they were starting to become quite explicit. So I stopped it right there. And that was pretty much it. This is the extent of that interaction. The only bad thing is that she mentioned something explicit, but she did not send me something visually explicit. As I said, I've seen only her face with no makeup.
Yeah, today's live
stream stuff. She looked like a freaking angel. That night, I was in his house, and my mom was staying with me because of that lockdown. I have a big house. My mom, she has like literally her own apartment, you know, a room, her bathroom, the whole 9 yards. The same night, man.
Now it's all good. My
mom experienced something, but she's not.
Daughter to bed, and he escaped, and he doesn't want to sleep. It's already 9:35 here, so it's definitely bedtime. He should be asleep. That's why I always start my streams later. But yeah, he doesn't want to. Okay. Anyways, thank you very much, Ibrahim, for gifting Bobby's Perspective memberships. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Amazing. Okay, let's proceed with the story, and then we're going to watch something else afterwards.
Not telling you right away because she freaked out. Me, I've seen something that same night that I've never experienced ever in my life. I've seen myself, literally like coming off my own body. It's like an out-of-the-body experience for Lord. Never happened to me. Never believed in this kind of stuff, ever. LUI comes up the LUI, and I go and like a big, huge mirror. Not see, big mirror right there. It's like I see myself in the mirror. My eyes, both of them, are pitch black. The whole thing is pitch black. I have no white area whatsoever. Everything is blacked out. I look at myself and I have a big knife in my head, in my hand. Very dark, very diabolical kind of stuff. And I see my body. I was still on my bed, but I walk out. It's like another Louis Marco. Looking at myself in the mirror with freaking black shut eye. Freaked out, man. Freaked out. Bad, very dark. And that was it. And then it was feeling so real. My mom freaked out the next morning because she heard me basically having some sort of a nightmare. I was talking. She came to me and said, what happened? What were we doing? But she saw something else that she told me about that like months later. She didn't want to reveal it because my mom is a doctor. My mom is a doctor. Also, first time ever she felt that. I had some sort of an impasse, she had some feelings, but never seen that. She did not want to reveal that to me until a few months later. By the way, me when I go to sleep, I pray. So I do my blessings and this and that. Although I committed a mistake because I should not interact. I don't like interacting with somebody writing to me like explicit stuff, but I committed that mistake, I do confess. The day after, the same girl came to me and she begged me to block her. She told me, you must block me. She gave me obviously the account I was talking with her from, but she gave me 2 other accounts. She had an account, one for her job, and the other one, I don't know, maybe like a burner account or whatever that is. She told me, you must block me, just block me, you need to block me. So of course I'm like, I made the contact. I said, what the hell happened yesterday, this and that? Was it you? What the hell? Are you a witch? Are you a witch? Just block me. And that's it. That's pretty much until now, and hopefully until I die, that's the craziest thing I've ever experienced in my life. Never happened to me again, obviously. And that is that, boys. Now, some of you said this is...
Okay, I'm going to cut it off here. Yeah, it's absolutely creepy, of course, and I had similar experiences, not as dark as his. But yes, it is absolutely factual that if you have sex with certain women, actually every single time you do have sex, there's a spiritual exchange, of course, and certain women are into the occult, some more than others, some less. But nevertheless, this energy can be transferred, and yes, jinns can be transferred as well, I genuinely believe. Especially in this heightened state of awareness when you are having sex. In Hindu practice, they call them the chakras, right? In Buddhist terms as well, tantric practices, that those chakras are opening up. Essentially, you're opening up your energy, and then you're susceptible for certain spiritual infections almost. To give a physical example, so if you cut yourself, you have a wound, and then of course this wound can get infected with all kinds of stuff, right? If your skin is closed, you're less likely to catch some sort of disease. And it's the same spiritually. When you open yourself up spiritually through sex, this is why there was a lot of sex occult magic being practiced. What was his name again? Not only Aleister Crowley, he's of course the #1 champ when it comes down to that, but Rasputin as well. The story of Rasputin in Russia, he had those huge sex cults as well, sex magic. Yeah, it always goes hand in hand. And it's a totally different dimension, of course, than you hear nowadays in this hookup culture, where they simply see it as fun as well. Just hooking up, nothing happens. Yeah, this is what they want you to believe, of course. The same thing with the magic. They want you to think of Harry Potter. It's all benign. It's just a Hollywood movie. No, it's very, very real, unfortunately. And when you're fooling around like that, you are playing with fire. You're dancing with the devil, quite literally. But many people don't see that. And this is why I truly believe as well that many people later on in their life, they suffer one way or the other, right? Women feeling abused later on, or even him now. He says now he doesn't see anything of that anymore. He didn't have any dark visions, etc. Thank God for that. But he nevertheless ended up being alone, right, in his 50s. And that is, of course, a dire consequence that he had to pay as well, ultimately. So be very, very careful. And that's why I don't like to disclose much of my past, even though I always do as much as I can in order to, spread some type of information, something useful. But I don't go into too much detail because, I don't want to glorify those old days at all. It's not good. That's why I'm going to repeat myself. The best thing you can do is get married early and have children early. That's the best thing you can do, hands down. Okay, anyways, that is that. He's Moroccan. I don't know, man. Maybe Algerian. I know many Algerians that are kind of white-ish. So who knows? I don't know exactly where it comes from, but I'm pretty sure there's an Arabic background. Okay, anyways, guys. I'm just going to take a quick break just to check on my son if he went back to bed. And I'm going to be back in a second, inshallah. All right. Thank you very much. We had a super chat by Morok, $20. This is the biggest super chat from tonight. Merci beaucoup. Appreciate it. Let me give an applause. Dawa Trucker says, I miss that ending song. Yeah, a bit nostalgic myself. This was Bobby's Perspective intro and outro for pretty much 80 years. But then the Haram police got me and I removed it. So, as for right now, it is removed. Maybe one day I'm going to change my mind. Who knows? Anyways, thank you very much, Morok. Unfortunately, no question attached, but appreciate it anyways. Thank you very much. Okay. Person speaking in the video is a revert. No, that's Louis Marco. That's his name. His alias, pseudonym, I don't know if it's his real name, but we know him as Louis Marco. He used to be a very big bodybuilding reporter back in the day. And then he got kind of into the red pill and was very angry about many women and how marriage is a scam, etc. And now he's 50 and ended up being completely alone for the past 8 years, which is not surprising if you really think about it, but it's sad nevertheless. Because I think he had good intentions, but ultimately didn't lead him anywhere. Okay, anyways, I saw another video. Let me just check this out real quick. That I want to share as well. It's very, very short. But here we'll need your input, chat, because I'm not so politically savvy, to be totally honest. Especially when it comes down to the whole Russia thing. I haven't looked deeply enough into it to form a coherent opinion. But nevertheless, in the West, Russia is often seen as the last traditional stronghold for white people. Many neo-nationalists see it that way. Others are on the side of Ukraine, etc. because of such gestures. Because what we're going to see here now, I'm going to turn off the music because I think it's copyright striked. But here we see Vladimir Putin actually meeting up with the Chechen leader. I forgot his name. And he takes a picture. This year is, I think, an Islamic leader. I think he's the Grand Mufti of sorts in Chechnya. I'm not too sure. But here you can see him actually kissing the Quran, in case you missed it. Here you have it. So he's actually kissing the Quran. There you go. Kissing the Quran. I haven't seen a Muslim do that, to be totally honest. But Orthodox Christians, they like to kiss a lot of things. So they like to kiss crosses, they like to kiss the icons, etc. So this is a very Slavic Orthodox move. This is something that we would see on the Balkan as well. So as a gesture of veneration, Putin went on there and, surrounded by the Chechen Muslims, kissed the Quran. Which is quite amazing. I'm going to show you a contrast a bit later, and I really hope I can show it to you. We have to be very, very careful. But anyways, yeah, chat, let me know what your thoughts are on that. I personally, from the little research I've done on Russia, just looking at the surface level, I believe that Islam is very, very big in Russia and well tolerated as well, alhamdulillah. And I believe that Putin wants to build those bridges because Russia is humongous and Islam is part of it. So therefore, the president has to be representative of it as well, even though him being an Orthodox Christian, of course. Russia is insane. I grew up just looking at Russia and I thought, oh, well, Russia is very big. And so I guess they're all Russians because you have this nationalistic view. And nationality is tied into ethnicity, which is not true. The borders have been drawn by certain people. However, you have different ethnicities, of course. So even if you look into my small country of Northern Macedonia, of course you have many different ethnicities living in such a small place, right? That's why nations are very, very tricky. Back in the day, empires made much more sense, of course. And Russia, of course, encompasses many different ethnicities and many nation states that are very different from each other. So Chechnya, for example, to compare that to Moscow, is night and day, of course, in terms of belief, etc., right? And ethnicity again. So yeah, anyways, that being said, I believe that he simply wants to build those bridges and have a strong unity within his country, because ultimately when he goes to war, it is Christians and Muslims fighting together, right? So he cannot exclude anybody there. I like what he does, to be totally honest. He spoke out as well against free speech, so so-called free speech in the West, where he mentioned that, yeah, well, in the West, they mock religions, they mock Islam, they mock the Quran, they mock the Prophet Muhammad, and that is not free speech, right? That shouldn't be even allowed whatsoever to go against the dearest beliefs of the believers, and I greatly appreciate that as well. I believe that certain things should not be mocked, and I'm not a free speech absolutist in that regard at all whatsoever. You have to draw the line somewhere. So anyways, that being said, kudos, applause to him. This is what the Russian president does. He actually kisses the Quran, surrounded by Muslims. MashaAllah, absolutely amazing. And now I'm gonna try, very much try, to show you the former American president, I should say, and maybe future president again. I just have to download those videos real quick. And my commentary will be very reserved, let's put it that way, due to being on YouTube yet again. So forgive me. I cannot say everything I want to say. But nevertheless, I'm going to show you the clips just for the contrast of sakes, right? So here we see, this really has to be understood as well, the Russian president, who is an Orthodox Christian, but he venerates the Quran. That is factual. So now if you look into the Quran doesn't speak against Jesus, quite the opposite, but the Quran clarifies who Jesus was. It addressed the Christians as well and says, hey, Christians, don't go to any excess here. Jesus Christ is not God. He is the Son of Mary, and he has been sent by God, essentially confirming the Bible in certain passages. So Vladimir Putin, if he knows about that, is respectful of that position and sees that the Muslims greatly appreciate Jesus as well. However, they do not worship him as God, because that's not what he is, right? But other presidents go to much greater extent, you might say. Let me try to pull this up. Here we go. So this is the former American president, Trumpenstein. And yeah, it's quite amazing to see that this was from yesterday, for the 7th of October. You know what happened on that day. So he wants to show his full support of what has happened there. And therefore he put on the kippah and met up with his friends. Right? Understandable. I mean, if you look into America and every American politician, that they have an AIPAC person behind them. So therefore, before they make any political decision, they of course have to ask their AIPAC people what to do. So this is how that looked like. So not only is he venerating this Jewish scripture, but he's actually reading and reciting it. It's quite amazing. Very skilled in classical Trump fashion. So this is quite amazing. I think as a contrast, it's quite interesting to see, quite telling to see, of course. So you have the Jewish population in America, which is 0 point something percent. Is it 1%? I don't even think so. But somehow Israel is the greatest ally of America, and it has to be celebrated as such. Meanwhile, Islam is huge in Russia, and therefore Putin is making peace with all the religions within his nation. But here something else is going on, I would say. It's not only about making peace and religious tolerance. No, it goes way further than that, of course, because symbolically Trump is actually wearing the kippah. So he's wearing the Jewish outfit here, and he's reciting the Jewish prayers. Now, again, just as a contrast, we know that if we look into the Talmud, for example, that Jesus is not even appreciated. Let's put it that way, right? So according to the Talmud, Jesus Christ is boiling in excrement, right? And he is a magician and a thief and whatever. Those are those things that the people of the Talmud claim about Jesus Christ. So I don't really understand how we can even speak of Judeo-Christian values. I don't even understand how a Christian, a true Christian, would be appreciative of such a stance when it comes down to Jesus. Yet again, with Muslims on the other hand, yes, you might disagree on the Trinity if you truly believe in that, but you cannot deny that Muslims respect Jesus greatly. And this is not the case with this bunch in the background, right? So let's proceed with another video. Okay, I hope you can see this well, like this. So here he is with the whole entourage, I might add. It's not only a few people, but it's all of them, basically. His APEC team gathered. Let me just make myself a bit smaller. Again, to mourn October the 7th and to declare the Palestinians as terrorists, presumably. Orange man. It's quite amazing, you know, and then you see essentially the liberals versus the conservatives and their infighting, and somehow Trump is displayed as this uber Nazi, right? The hardcore right-winger, the white supremacist, racist, and whatnot. Guys, why can't you see it? It's absolutely ridiculous. All of your presidents are simply Zionists. They all play for the exact same team. It doesn't matter if red or blue. You have to be so low IQ to not understand this. Here he's celebrating some Jewish rites, apparently. Some traditional ritual. It's unbelievable. So he, as a Christian, partakes in a faith right now, completely. He's fully immersed, of course, in a faith that hates his God. That's what it is. And why is that so? Is the question, of course. Then we cannot answer. Or we're just going to look at it. We're just going to observe. We're just watching stuff. Deep meditations. Deep reflections. Yeah, Trump is a real good guy, if you know what I mean. Absolutely. That's just beautiful, right? But this is why, again, listen, guys, they're all politicians. I'm not siding here with anybody. I haven't had coffee with Trump or with Putin in order to truly understand what they're doing, and neither does anybody watching. So therefore, all of this is above our pay grade. However, at least on a surface level, we see, of course, with whom America cooperates, or rather, who America has to obey and which side they are taking. And then we see which side Russia is taking, of course. Again, there's a lot of room for improvement in all countries, of course, but nevertheless, at least on a surface level, we clearly understand who is friend and who is foe. Let's just put it that way. Okay, anyways, enough of this. We don't want to get even further banned, deleted, shadow banned and whatnot. So let's turn this off. Oh, that's a nice picture. I like it. I really like the Chechen style in general. I can truly appreciate it. I really like it. It's so Slavic. It is so relatable to me personally. I enjoy it. And that's the Islam that I want to see as well. Not this one particularly, but this diversity within Islam, because the dress codes are Islamic, the beards are Islamic, but still there is a specific optic that is, yeah, very unique to that region of the world. And I believe that this is how it is supposed to be as well. This is what I would have liked to see with German Islam or British Islam, for example. We talked about this with James on my previous live stream, because the growth of Islam in those countries is not very organic. It is through immigration, through mass immigration. And unfortunately, like that, the indigenous people, they can't really express their Islam, if you will. And I believe that is really, really important, because here in Thailand, for example, I see an organic Thai style of Islam growing. Not in terms of doctrine. I'm speaking about the optic predominantly, right? And I would wish that for the Germans, I would wish that for the French, for the Swedish, to see them developing within their Islam and within their architecture, within their dress codes. It would be quite beautiful to see. But unfortunately, at the moment, we don't really see that at all. Thank you very much, Umar, for the 8 SRR. It's just Judeo-Christian values. Yeah, exactly. Those are the Judeo-Christian values, which is a very, very new terminology as well. There was no such thing for 2,000 years, basically. Of course not. How could there be, right? Because according to Christian doctrine, the Jews killed Jesus. That's the Christian version of it. And according to Judaism, Jesus was an impostor, to say, at least, right? So they don't believe in him whatsoever. They mock him as well. And they mock Christians. So therefore, they cannot truly coexist if we go into the core of it. Now, I'm not claiming that there is no Jew out there that is just friendly to Christians and doesn't truly care about the religious background, but that is somebody that is not truly practicing. If you're a truly practicing Jew, you, of course, have your perspective on Christianity, and vice versa, you would think. But the American Christians, because they're so far away of true orthodoxy, Catholicism, they're so in their sectarianism that they basically believe they have to worship the children of Israel, and full support, Tsar. That's basically what they're doing. Bobby, could you speak a bit louder? Is it the mic? Because I see here, it seems that it's not loud enough as well. Okay, let me just adjust this real quick. 1 second. I thought it's fine, but 1 second. Filters. Okay, let me add a little bit more gain to it. Fortunately, it cannot be louder here. Nope, it doesn't do the job, but maybe here digitally. Is this better, or is this too loud now? Let me know in the chat, guys. Is this louder? Is this better? Or it doesn't sound good anymore? Let me know how it sounds to you. Better, yeah? Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Strange. I thought it was on full blast, but it's better, yeah? Okay, now it should be louder. Good. Okay, fantastico. Mucho bellissimo. All right, that is that. Now let me see. It's fine, better. Use a de-esser, brother. I'm actually using a de-esser for my videos, believe it or not, but the S is still super sharp. That's how I talk, unfortunately. It doesn't go away no matter what I do. I added a de-esser to my videos, but it's still there. I don't know if I have a de-esser here on the OBS studio. Let me check. They have a noise suppression, noise gate, compressor, limiter, expander, but they don't have a de-esser. Nope. Yeah, I'll check if I can find something. Not for now, but for next time. But yeah, I am aware, guys. I know. And I really try to get rid of it, but I can't. Every time I say S, it whistles, basically. Yeah, it's my big teeth. Okay. Anyways, good. The sound is better. Fantastic. Okay, let's take a break of the videos. Let's get into the chat. As I always say, if you want to support, super chats are the way. Thank you very much for your ongoing support. But that being said, now I'm just going to jump into the chat as well and see who's there and what's what. And maybe we can spark a discussion. Please let me know as well what you like to see in the future, guys. Because, as I said, we're going to have, inshallah, some more guests coming, for sure. But if you have any formats that you would like to watch, would like to discuss, any inspiration, let me know. And then, inshallah, we can hook it up. Deutschland, yes. Exactly. I was looking for a new place today here in Thailand, and matter of fact, the real estate agent was German. Aus NRW auch noch. That was quite nice, to be honest. I haven't been surrounded by German-speaking people for a while. It's, yeah, made me feel a bit like home. Deutschland, Deutschland. The volume is very low. Yeah, well, guys, man. We've been streaming for what now? What is it? Let me check. Been streaming for almost 2 hours, and after 2 hours, you guys tell me that the volume is low. That's wild. Why didn't anybody say it earlier? Yeah, well, it is what it is. Okay. Orange juice. Yeah, I actually drank a lot of orange juice today. Freshly squeezed orange juice. I like it. Trump does not believe in one word of what he's reading. I'm not sure if he does know what he's reading. Listen, that might be the case. And again, I'm absolutely open to say that Putin never read the Quran. Might be, right? They're politicians after all. But why do they have to bend the knee to certain people? That is the question, of course. And we know why that is. Does the kippah say MAGA? Exactly. Some people say Donald Trump is a Jewish man. No, that's not true. Donald Trump is not a Jewish man. He grew up Christian. That is what it is. Okay, anyways. Let me check something real quick. Here we go. Oh yeah, that's a video that I want to check out as well. Something super yucky. I just want to see where the West finds itself at the moment. 1 second. Come on. Does it work? Should work. Okay. So this is a video by PragerU, the channel. And I believe they're in Venice Beach, so they're in America, it seems. And they're going to ask people, men, I assume, would you date a trans person? So this is really interesting to me personally, how the social programming, the social engineering has developed ultimately, and what people now would say about that question. Because for a fact, 10 years ago, 20 years ago for sure, if people would have gotten asked such a question, they of course would very loudly proclaim no. But now I want to see how this generation reacts to such questionnaires. Let's have a look.
What's up, guys? Aldo here with PragerU. There's been a lot of discussion over the last few years on the trans community and what it means to be a real woman or what it means to be a real man. And what we've seen is that while many people talk in platitudes and claim to be an ally of the community, when it comes to their own life, they start to sing a different tune. Today, I'm in Venice Beach, California.
Yeah, very interesting already what he mentioned there. He says, wait a second, is the mic all right now or is it still too quiet? Because my radar here doesn't seem loud enough. Let me know if it's loud enough now. But anyways, what he said there is already such a brainwashing ultimately, because he says, yeah, well, many claim to be allies, right? Because you have to be an ally. If you're not an ally from the ABCD crew, the LGTV crew, then you're an enemy, right? You're the enemy and you want violence upon those people, or bigot, etc. So the default position now in the West has to be that you're an ally of those people, that you have to promote their cause ultimately. Wow. And so now he says, yeah, well, they're allies on the surface, but how about their own life? That's even creepier, man. So now they say that it's not even enough for you to be simply an ally, whatever that means, but now you will have to date the trans woman. You have to, right? Otherwise, you're a hypocrite. So if you're pro the cause, you have to become gay yourself. And that's essentially the Overton window, right? So I think everybody's familiar with the Overton window. Chat, let me know if you are. If not, then we're going to look it up. But this is basically what it is. So yeah, let me know in the chat if you know what the Overton window is. If not, we're going to look into it real quick so you understand the psychology here.
California to ask people a very simple question. Would you date a trans person? Let's go see what people have to say. You guys looking for men or women?
I'm looking for women.
Women?
Women, yeah.
Woman, of course. I mean, that's like pretty. I'm a man, so I need a woman.
Men or women?
German.
Men. Men.
Woman.
Yeah.
Women.
Yeah.
Women. Women.
What do you guys look for when you're dating?
Ooh, that's a good question. You go first.
From the character, I mean, she has to be like down to earth. Well, she looks good.
Like, you have to be like my height, I would say, because, you know, I'm a tall girl, so.
Brains.
Personality. Are trans women real women?
I mean, ultimately, everybody is lying. That's, of course, nonsense. Except the girl, she said he has to be at least her height. Of course, she would like him to be taller as well. But other than that, to simply, well, brains. We are visual creatures, especially as men, and therefore, of course, we look for a certain look in women too. So it has to be visually appealing. So to simply say brains, yeah, I don't buy it, bro.
Personality. Are trans women real women?
I mean, yes, for them, when they think they are a woman, they can be a woman. I don't care.
Okay, so basically he ends it with I don't care. Ultimately what he says is that he's tolerant of all. But what he claims doesn't make any sense, of course, because as long as they believe it, they are, he said, right? But this is literally what a delusion is, of course. If I believe that I am something that I am physically not, then I'm not. So, okay, I am 2 meter 30. I'm 2 meter 30, right? So you can measure that, of course. You can take a measurement and see if I'm 2 meter 30. If I'm not, then I'm not. That's it. Let's try another test. I have a full set of hair. Absolutely beautiful, luscious, curly hair. I believe it. I believe it. I identify as someone with beautiful hair. You see how ridiculous this is? So just because I play make-believe here, nobody else has to reaffirm my delusions then, right? So this is why I always liked it here in Thailand. It was quite refreshing, in contrast at least. I'm not saying that it's right, but the trans community, quote-unquote, here, even though back in the day they didn't call themselves that, they always said that they are lady boys and that they are not a woman and not a man, right? And I mean, that makes sense, I guess. Of course, they're biological males and they know that as well. However, because they're in such a incongruency with themselves, they did so many surgeries on themselves to mimic a woman. And therefore, I can at least accept that they're not men anymore, because that's not what we see as men. But of course, they're not women either. You cannot become another gender, right? And so therefore, anyways, in their mind, it was always understood. That is always seen here in this society as well in Thailand. But this guy simply says, yeah, because they believe it, therefore they are. No, that is not true. That's not how it works. And you wouldn't accept that in any other physical regard. Any other physical regard, you simply wouldn't accept it whatsoever. As I said, if I would claim I have hair, I would claim I'm clean shaven. Oh, I'm so beautifully clean shaven now. You wouldn't accept that, right? That's a delusion. And therefore, you can tolerate them. Nobody says that you should persecute them in your liberal country. That's how it is. Okay. But you cannot claim that they are something just because they believe it. That's ridiculous. Doesn't make any sense.
Woman, I don't care.
Are trans women real women in your eyes?
I mean, they're like stronger than real women, and I mean, they can do their own thing.
Do you guys see trans men?
Yeah, this guy up until now, the German guy, makes sense, I guess, a little bit. So he says they're stronger than they're stronger than average women. Yeah, because they're not women, because they're men, and this is why they are stronger. Yeah. Yeah, chat, exactly. They're all very scared. That's exactly why I want to watch this video, just to see how politically correct everybody has to be. They're really afraid that they're going to end up in jail ultimately, and potentially they could, by saying the wrong thing here.
Do you guys see trans men as real men?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. How can you? It's absolutely impossible. You as a woman, you want to be submissive to a man, naturally speaking, obviously. And, sorry, a bit graphic, remove your children. Of course, you want to be dominated physically as well, in bed. And to be able to do so, you need a penis. That's what it is. So therefore, no. A man with a vagina will never be a man and will never be able to dominate his woman. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Do you guys
They don't believe it. You see, yeah. I guess that's what I have to say now. Yes.
consider trans women real women? Joking, you guys. Would you guys date a
And that's amazing. You know, being surrounded by many different people, different ethnicities, having traveled the world, it's refreshing, because black people are still more normal. Thank God, they still have more common sense from my experience. If you take big contrast, it would be an African black person. Not necessarily. Many Afro-Americans are a bit lost as well, unfortunately, but like a proper Congolese man, let's say, and then like a white Westerner, like a Swedish guy or like a French guy. Not everybody, but I'm painting cliches here. You will see that the blacks are just so much more normal, so much more laid back, and so much, funnier, because they see the ridiculousness of this world. So I truly appreciate them here. Simply realizing right away, what kind of stupid question is this? Are they real women? Of course they're not. The guy is choking on his drink. Duh, they're not.
Joking, you guys. Would you guys date a trans person?
I would not. I've got nothing wrong with it. I think people should be able to do what they want to do.
Yeah, I mean, personally, no. I'm kind of with him on that as well.
No, I wouldn't date a trans woman.
Why?
But see, that's exactly the thing. So now he wants to point them out as being bigots ultimately, because, hey, they're allies, right? They all agreed with, yes, they are women after all, but now they don't want to date them. Why, right? And yeah, I guess rightfully so, because if you accept that they are a real woman, that's what he said. He said they are a real woman if they believe it. So if they are a real woman, then the trans label, you can just throw it out and you can date them now because they're just a woman, right? Why do you say no now? See how that works? But ultimately now he says no because he doesn't believe what he said before that. He, of course, doesn't believe that they are real women. That's what it is. Very simple.
That as well.
No, I wouldn't date a trans woman.
Why?
I don't know. For me, it's a little bit weird to know that she used to be a man, and
But she's a woman now.
that's true. That's an interesting question, but that's a tough question.
Yeah, see, okay, yeah. For him, it's weird that she used to be a man. No, that's not what it is, because, honestly, let's be completely honest here, if we would have the technology now, right? Thought experiment. And somebody was born as a man, but through the technology, the whole body is replaced. The whole thing completely from the ground, all the chromosomes are changed, etc. It truly is a woman, biologically speaking, everything about it. Not that they had to do surgery, but let's say the technology is so far advanced, you just transfer into a female body. Here, you have the female body now, and that's you, like an avatar, if you will, right? So then you would think, okay, I guess I would still think kind of there's a dude behind it. But nevertheless, that would be a biological female then, and then we could potentially have a different discussion, right? But in this regard, he knows that it's not that she was a man and now she's a woman. No, he knows that it's still a man. It's a man with a lot of surgeries. That's what it is.
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know.
For me, personally, I couldn't do it.
But use your...
Again, I have to rewind here. So the women, they're of course even more politically correct and agreeable and even more scared to say the wrong thing. They want to be nice to the nice guy here.
That's a tough question.
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know.
For me,
I don't know, but you do know. Because if we would ask, hey, what do you date? As she said men. And then we proceed and ask, okay, would you date a man? Then she would just say, duh, yes, of course. Right? But now at the question, would you date a trans man, a woman with a lot of surgeries? She says, well, I don't know. Because she knows. That's actually what she's saying. She says, I know that I wouldn't.
Oh.
For me, personally, I couldn't do it.
But you just said that you like women.
Yeah, that's true. I like women. But
if trans men are real men,
exactly.
well, then why would you not date one if you're into men?
You got me. You got me. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So he got her through his frame, as I said already. It's so ridiculous because she agreed. Yes, those are real men. Real men. But she wouldn't date them. Why wouldn't you? And now they get into this whole incongruency and, oh, oops, yeah, I just don't know. Yeah, you do know, because you don't believe that a man, quote unquote, with a vagina is a man, because he's not. That's what it is.
Why would you not date one if you're into men?
You got me. You got me. I don't know.
That's so stupid.
I really don't know.
Not my type. You know, everyone's got their own little thing, so...
Say type. What do you...
Yeah, bro, be more vague. That's so hilarious, man. Yeah, well, everybody has their own type, you know? Like some are into blondes, some are into brunettes, some are into redheads, and some are into chicks with dicks, you know? So, it's just not my type. Come on, bro. Just say it. It's so ridiculous. And this is exactly the problem that the West has. They're so afraid of simply saying what is true. Why, if you want to accept them, right? You want to have this liberal society, okay, fine, accept them, but simply accept reality. Accept that this is a male that wants to mimic a female. So therefore, is it a real female? No, it's not. And that's fine then. Under your worldview, it's okay, but it's not a regular woman. Very, very simple.
Mean by that? Everyone has their own cup of tea.
Everybody has their own cup of tea.
That's just not my cup of tea. Yeah. But if you do it, go you.
Where are you going? In other words, you're not into men.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if they're real women, then why wouldn't you?
Thank God. So, okay. Actually, he came out. I don't know what this channel is about, to be totally honest. Wait a second. Let me just open it up real quick. I thought it's a super liberal channel. And so they're all pro ABCDEFG. Hey, what is this? They have a documentary on Islam, it seems. Oh, no. And they call it Dear Infidels. A warning to America. Full documentary. Okay, let me save this to my playlist. Okay. New React. Okay, let's go. Dear Infidels. Okay, we're definitely going to check that out, inshallah. Maybe not today. Interesting, but it seems still like a pretty liberal page, right? Israel, what would you do? Yada, yada, yada. Yeah, definitely a liberal page, 100%. But in the end, he says you wouldn't date a man. So he's right on that one.
Not into men.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if they're real women, then why wouldn't you date them? I feel like people come to California and they get scared to say what they mean.
trans women are trans women, and it's hard to say. But
no, it's not hard to say. Again, even if you don't want to call them men because you want to be politically correct and whatnot, then call them a trans person, what have you. And by that standard, even if you would call them trans woman, okay, then by default, it's already not a regular, normal woman. It's a trans woman, right? That's just what it is.
Then why not date trans men?
Oh, wait, now I got
Because they don't have a pee-pee.
No, stop. I don't know. I don't know.
But they're women, though.
So nervous.
yeah, but Well, it's like,
Seems a little contradictory, right?
yeah, it is. It is.
I don't put no judgment, but I wouldn't consider her a woman. You know, I might be like, yeah, that's a girl.
You wouldn't consider him a woman then?
Yeah, I wouldn't consider it a woman. No.
In other words, you're not into men.
Correct. Yeah.
So why didn't you just say that?
If you were born with male genitals.
See, that's the thing, man. Even those guys, that's why I said Afro-Americans, at first their natural response was applauded by me, but then in the end they kind of became afraid as well of what to say. I guess it's just California. Crazy. How can you be afraid of saying something?
If you were born with male genitals, you're a
If
male.
there's absolutely no consequence to it. I mean, here, I have to bite my tongue, of course. I run this YouTube channel. I'm playing by the house rules of YouTube. I have to. But if you're just on the street and somebody asks you something, what are you afraid of? Those people are afraid now to say that they are not gay. That's scary to them. Wow.
If you were born with male genitals, you're a male. If you're born with female genitals, you're a female. Regardless of how you feel, that is what is. It is unfortunate because a lot of people, trans, don't tell their story. A lot of it comes with psychological abuse or physical abuse that they've experienced or witnessed, and instead of them getting help that they need, they had people enable them in their delusion and feed them these lies instead of them being able to be safe and feel loved in the body that they were born in.
Well, guys, that's it for this
Thank you
episode.
very
If you guys
much.
enjoyed this,
Yeah, the last woman there, she made the most sense, of course, because she mentions actually the obvious. If you look into, again, this whole trans, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, etc., same sex, what have you, many of those people, if not 99%, had some sort of traumatic experience when they were younger. That's just really what it is. And then they kind of disassociate from themselves and they flee into their imagination and try to become something that they are not. So it's actually quite sad. But instead of getting help and treating it, those people are confirmed in their delusions, as she said correctly, especially in environments, liberal environments like California, and then they further spiral down. So here in Thailand, it was actually, met a woman from Canada, and she was a lesbian. I, of course, make the case that even there some sort of traumatization happened. But nevertheless, she said that when she was 12 or so, she didn't understand that a woman can be with a woman, and therefore she thought that she had to become a man, and she started looking into this whole trans thing as well. And then later she got help through a psychologist, and the psychologist reaffirmed then that she's simply gay. So I guess she got spared of the whole surgeries, etc., which is of course positive. But I would go deeper, of course, and try to find the root cause of why she became attracted to women in the first place, right? Pray away the gay. But anyhow, that is that. It was definitely fascinating to watch this video because, as I said before, for me it's interesting how the West is developing, and at the moment, especially the liberal West, they're simply too afraid of saying it the way that it is. It's already scary to simply say, I'm not gay, thank you very much. No, they can't. Okay, anyways, guys, let me just double check. But it has been, over 2 hours now, 2.5 hours. I'm going to tune out for today. Any news about Devin? Yeah, Devin, inshallah, will come on. But Devin is still traveling, he said. And they're looking for a new place and whatnot. And therefore, it will still take a few weeks at least. But inshallah, we will speak to him as well. I will make a community post then. And then you guys can post your questions as well to him. Because I haven't watched his channel really. So if there's anything that you want me to ask him, I will. So we'll definitely talk about his past, then about black magic, etc. Wiki Dennis Prager early live Bobby. Okay, I get it. I get it. Prager is not a liberal. Okay, good. Good to know. I guess. Brother Bobby visit Pakistan. I'm afraid of your airlines, man. So if I find another airline to Pakistan, which is possible, of course, then I will. But the PIA, it is, right? PIA crashed big time, and I saw the live stream of that. So, no, definitely not. I'm too scared to fly. But yeah, if I make it to the Emirates, from Emirates to Pakistan to Karachi, I believe. I'm not too sure. Inshallah, I'll check it out. Turkey is awesome. I've been to Turkey only once, and it was very, very amazing, actually. It was kind of the beginning of my gravitation towards Islam when I was at the Hagia Sophia, formerly Hagia Sophia. Around it, you had the 99 names of Allah. And yeah, that for the very first time amazed me because I was reading the names and it just made perfect sense to me. When you visit Macedonia, also come to Kosovo. Yeah, inshallah, man, I want to do a Balkan tour anyways, at some point. But right now I'm not planning on going to Macedonia at all. Because, yeah, my family, they are not really pro this whole thing. And I just have no real reason to get there from Thailand now. So yeah, I'm chilling in Thailand for now. It's cool. Sufyan Dumun says, watching from Mauritius. Oh, very interesting, man. That's amazing. MashaAllah. I would like to visit Mauritius for sure. Actually, my wife would really like to visit especially. Can you host German reverts? I mean, I can, but it would be more interesting to have it in German as well, I guess. I have a second channel. I don't really run it much. But yeah, maybe we can do that. Did you go to Albania or Kosovo once? No, I've never been, man. Because I was hardcore nationalistic back in the day. And I thought that Albania is the hardcore enemy. And therefore I never visited neither Albania nor Kosovo. The biggest fan, Steve, is here. Yeah, he's always here. Of course. Yeah, matter of fact, even, I think, 10 years ago or something, my parents, they went to Albania for a holiday. And I was really outraged. Why would you go to Albania? Why not just go to Greece or something? I was very angry about that back in the day. You coming to Pakistan, bro? Yeah, inshallah, I'm not planning on it right now at all. But maybe someday. I'll see. Watching from Uzbekistan. Amazing. That's actually something that I really want to visit as well. Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Dagestan. Those areas I would really like to visit. Ugh. Excuse me, I should have covered my mouth. Okay, so everybody speaks about this Prager guy, so let me have a look then. I didn't know that the channel was just about him. It looked like a mainstream channel. Dennis Prager. Okay, let me have a look. Dennis Prager. Okay, but that's an old guy. I don't get it. So this Prager U is based on him. Ah, okay, I can see him here in the background as well. Okay, whatever. Yeah. I would have to look into it. But nevertheless, the interview was telling. Imam Bukhari is from Uzbekistan. Is that so? I didn't know. Okay. Anyways, guys, I'm getting tired, man. I have to eat. I haven't eaten anything in 6-7 hours or so. Thank you very much for the little hangout today. It was good to be back. Alhamdulillah. It was definitely a long time off again. I always want to stay in the groove, but then life hits me. So yeah, inshallah, soon more streams to come, especially collaborations, etc. And of course, new videos as well. As I always say, if you have anything that you want me to react to, anything that you want to see on this channel particularly, always let me know. I'm always open to suggestions and to cater to the audience. All right, but this is it for today. Like the stream, subscribe if you haven't already. Check out the links in the description box below to further support. Dankeschön. And as always, may God bless you all. Much love and peace.
يا نفس إن لم تظفري لا تجزعي يا نفس إن لم تظفري لا تجزعي وإلى مواعيد جود مولاك هرعي يا نفس إن لم تظفري لا تجزعي وإلى مواعيد جود مولاك هرعي وإذا تأخر مطلب فلربما في ذلك التأخير كل المطمع فاستانسي بالمنع وارعي حقه إن الرضا وصف المنيب الألمع وإذا بدا من ناطق الوجدان ما يدعوك للياس الذميم الأشنع فاستيقظي من نومة الغفلات وليكن الرجاء لك مرتعا فيه ارتعي إن العطاء إمداده متنوع إن العطاء إمداده متنوع يا حسنه ذاك العطاء المتنوع وردوا على نهر الحياة وكلهم شربوا وكم في الركب من متضلع حاشا الكريم يردهم عطشا وقاد وردوا وأصل الجود من ذا المنبع أصل الجود من ذا المنبع يا رب لي ظن جميل وافر قدمته وامشي به يسعى معي يا رب يا لي ظن جميل وافر قدمته أمشي به يسعى معي كل الذي يرجون فضلك كل الذي يرجون فضلك أمطروا حاشاك أن يبقى هشيما مربعي كل الذي يرجون فضلك أمطروا حاشاك أن يبقى هشيما مربعي